a tale of two halves on Saturday, right? On defense.
Yeah.
What was kind of the message, and what do you think? What did the tape show as the biggest adjustment that you guys made in execution, all that?
Yeah, the message at halftime was just to keep playing, keep believing, clean up some of the mistakes, and just play our brand of ball. I think that was the message really to the team, and kudos to the guys for not panicking, not flinching, and just keep playing the next play.
You ever been a part of a game like that? And this is the first time that these guys have done that on the road in 30 years, and first time since the Utah game like 5 years ago. Have you ever been a part of something like that?
Yeah, my first year at Purdue, we were down 21 points going into the fourth and ended up winning the game against Indiana. But other than that, that was right up there, especially on the road, against a good team with a lot of really good players and a staff that's got a lot of experience. It's a good ball club, and so I was really proud of the fight our guys had, and they continue to just make plays when we need them, and so that was huge.
Isaiah Ward has been a starter for parts of 3 seasons now, a couple of different schools. Kind of in and out of the lineup. I know there's a lot of competition in his spot here, but what does he need most? More weight?
What do you mean? Like, what does he need most?
Well, he's 6'5", 235, and Blaine and Durfee and Lynch are all way, heavier than that.
Yeah, I mean, they're just different body types, different builds. You know what I mean?
So for him to become more of a, consistent starter, what would he need?
To me, we have, especially when Durfee's healthy, we got 4 guys that are highly capable of starting, and it's just a matter of keeping guys fresh and what's going on with the game plan, different things like that. But their reps are pretty evenly distributed.
Jed said that he expects Xe'ree to play this week. After seeing him in practice, what would he add to this linebacker group?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of length, very athletic. The thing that I've been most impressed with is his football IQ and the way he studies. Even when he wasn't practicing, he's back there taking every mental rep, mimicking the guy that's in front of him from the back of the end zone. And so when he was, given the the green light to practice, you would think that there would be some mental errors and some communication drop-offs, and there hasn't been. So really, really excited for him and his future here.
Is he one of those guys who, like Xe'ree, you could see moving between inside and outside a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. He's got the length, the athleticism, the speed, the physicality. I mean, he's what you want in a linebacker for sure.
How would you evaluate Leroy's performance from the weekend?
I thought he played well, man. He made a huge play. We were in cover 3, and they ran like a wheel route from the number 1 receiver, and that's hard to see when you're the curl flat dropper, and where he had to insert based on the splits. And so for him to peek out there and play the technique the right way and be able to be playable on that ball was a huge play in that game. I thought he was physical on the perimeter in the screen game. He was step for step on the bow fade, there at the end, which made it a tough catch. It was a great throw, great route, but just fell off the fingertips, and that's because he was in good position. So, he continues to improve, continues to sort of settle in with the just the environment and the nerves and all those kind of things. He's been consistent in practice, and he'll continue to get better.
I know you and Jed have talked a lot about how much confidence you have in him. For a young guy like that to have a performance like that after maybe a couple of down weeks, how important do you think that could be for the rest of his season?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, the best teacher is experience, and it's hard to fabricate it. It's hard to simulate it, and sometimes you just got to go through certain things, certain scenarios. You gotta go through the fire a little bit. You got to learn from failures and log that information so that you can improve, in the future. And I think he's done a good job of that.
Do you train Ephesians to not catch that ball at the end of that game and to bat it down?
I mean, I didn't train him. Now whether Coach Rich or Jed had a conversation with him before that. I'll let them speak on that, but
Do, right?
yeah, in that situation, absolutely. Now, was he trying to knock it down? You're gonna have to ask him. But you know, with that fourth down play and where they were on the field, you know, you just run the risk of catching that and getting tackled and losing out on those yards. So that it was definitely a teaching moment in the unit meeting on this was actually a good play to knock it down, so that we have possession, you know, where they started from.
There was a game this week, I don't know if you saw it in the Cardinals game, where they had an interception and they fumbled it right back, and then a guy crossing the goal line drops the ball. We had that happen here a couple years ago before your time. Do you show them things like that?
Yeah, we do. Like Coach Fish does a great job of, you know, every week we'll have like situational ball team meetings where you just look at certain situations from around the league, you know, the NFL and college, week to week. You know, with certain nuanced situations that you don't really realize will come up until they come up, and I think that's been a great piece of the culture here, is just learning and teaching from other people's either, you know, other people's successes in those crunch time moments or their failures, so that, you know, if those situations do arise, you know, you can draw back to some information that you've previously had.
Ephesians kind of had a down year by his standards last year. What did you know about him when you were coming in, and what have you seen him improve on since you've been here?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about him. You know, I've been all sort of Midwest and South in my coaching career, and so when I got here, obviously he walks in the door and you're like, this he plays corner, you know. And then you watch him in workouts and in spring ball, and just the way he moves and how fluid he is, and his ability to sink his hips and change directions at that size, I thought was really impressive. And, you know, people were, I think, questioning like how physical he was or how aggressive he was, and I've never once questioned that, just with my own eyes and the things that I've seen, and I think as a result, he's playing about as well as I thought he was going to play, you know, coming out of spring ball and fall camp.
How close was Decario, you think, to actually going?
He was close. I mean, he practiced last week, you know, in a controlled environment, you know, so it was a game time decision, and you know, he's itching to come back, and you know, obviously our docs and our coaching staff, you know, aren't going to put him out there until he's fully ready and able to play the way he knows how to play. But yeah, he's really close.
It seemed like a pretty disruptive game for Ty in the middle. How have you seen him grow this year, and then how did he grade out in this game for you?
Yeah. Again, I wasn't here. Like, this is my first year with Ty, so like it's hard for me to say like what his growth has been. But just from what I've seen, spring ball, fall camp, you know, I do think he's really dove into the nutrition aspect and gaining weight, the right kind of weight. You know, and he's more athletic than I think people give him credit for. You know, he finds a way to be slippery and pass rush, and you know, he did a really good job of taking up double teams in this game. And he's been, you know, he's got a high motor, like he's everything you want in a 3 technique for sure.
You know, Jed talked a lot last week about trying to get the 5-for-5 rule passed, specifically for Jacob Manu, but
Yeah.
Ty's another guy who never redshirted. Would he be someone you'd be interested in having back next year?
I would love to have Ty back next year. I mean, he's great human being first and foremost. He's awesome in the locker room. You get the same thing from Ty every day, and you know, anytime you got somebody that's consistent like that on a day-to-day basis and playing the way he plays, you'd love to have him in the program.
You guys have put a big emphasis on limiting explosives, but Rutgers is a pretty methodical offense. How do you kind of approach disrupting their rhythm a little bit more this week?
Yeah, I mean, they're explosive too now. Like, they had, I think, 11 explosive plays against Minnesota and 7 against Iowa. I think they're averaging about 8 explosives a game, which is up there. And so, you know, the thing about Rutgers, you know, obviously they've got a lot of returning starters. They've been in that system for, you know, a couple of years now. The quarterback's been with that offensive coordinator for his career. and so they operate at a high level. They're very efficient in what they do. They don't do a ton, but what they do really well, and the quarterback knows exactly where to go with the ball. Their wideouts are tall, long targets with great catch radius. Running backs run hard, and the amount of yak yards they get is incredible. They got everybody back on the offensive line, and so they communicate well and ID the fronts and who the mic is in protection seamlessly, and so that's why they're playing as well as they are on offense. And so we got to do a great job of being disruptive. We got to continue to show up in the run game. I think they're averaging about 140 yards on the ground this season, and we got to continue to limit explosives because they are making their money on explosive plays this season.
They were actually, I think, that Iowa and Minnesota, they were leading in the fourth quarter of both those games,
Yeah.
and now they're 3-2. So does that kind of have the kids' attention that these guys are maybe like a combined 6 minutes away from being 5-0?
Yeah, I mean, in the I want to say it was the Minnesota game. They're going down to score at the end, I believe, to go ahead, and it's just a bad snap. Knocked them out of range. And so like I'm pretty sure they better have their attention. Like, this is a good football team. And we're coming off a short week in an emotional game. So we got to take advantage of all the reps we get at practice today, all the walkthroughs that we get leading up to Friday night. We got to put a 4-quarter performance together and play our best football to date if we want to take care of business at home.
You mentioned their running backs. What kind of a challenge does Antoine Raymond pose, considering that you guys are coming off your best run defense game of the season so far?
Yeah, I mean, he's anytime you got 5 guys up front that are returning starters and just a year better in a scheme that allows for advantageous boxes to run in with the RPO system, and you get 2 talented backs like that. That's why they're good. And like I said, they don't do a whole lot in the run game from a schematic standpoint, but they execute at a high level. So we got to do a great job of being gap sound and being physical up front, and we got to wrap them up because, like I said, the amount of yak yards that you see on tape is incredible, and got a lot of respect for those guys.
Coleman and Raymond are 2 of the highest scoring backs in the country. Is there anything similar to these 2 guys?
Yeah, both they run hard. They run hard, and they're hard to bring down. You got to team tackle those type of backs. But yeah, very similar running styles. Just putting your foot in the ground, getting vertical, and getting tough yards.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Guys, how we doing?
Jimmie, just what were kind of the emotions in that locker room after coming all the way back?
After the game was amazing. I mean, I think the kids, everybody involved, knew they were part of something pretty special. Just really proud of the way the kids responded in the second half, how they finished the game in the fourth quarter. Not easy to do, when your back's against the wall, and really not a whole lot was going our way. It was pretty ugly in that first half, and to have the resolve and to fight through that adversity is, kind of everything we talk about as coaches. And you don't know when that situation is going to come, but when it does come, you obviously hope your players respond that way, and they did that. So very proud of them.
Jimmie, I know you're the quarterback's coach for DeMont, so you know him better than anybody. Results-wise, very different first half to second half, but I wonder how much changed, if anything? What did you see first half to second half, and was it just small stuff, or was there bigger things? What was your diagnosis?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I mean, that's kind of what most adjustments really are at halftime, is like, hey man, let's go back to basics. Was really the message to him. Was it seemed like there was all this stuff going on, and he wasn't seeing things exactly clear in that first half, and his feet were a little off. So it was really just going back to basics. Like it was nothing that we hadn't seen or practiced going into the game. It was just a matter of kind of calming his mind down a little bit, letting him know that, hey, man, got your back. Believe you're going to go out there and play great, kind of get his confidence back a little bit. And then also just go back to basic fundamentals with your feet, with your drops, with your eyes. And then also, take what they give us. We're not going to get everything back in one play. So just kind of be patient, and then those plays will come, which sure enough they did in the game. And was just really proud of, again, he went out and did those things physically, but saying it and then going and doing it is two different things. And the fact that he was able to do that and have that composure and that poise to go out and put together the second half he did, was very proud of him.
I know your offensive line looked like it had a lot of rhythm through even the Ohio State game with, I know they gave us a few sacks, but, they look real steady. This last week, they seemed, all five seemed out of whack. And I know you've had to replace two guys, and that sometimes throws off the rhythm.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about how to get that back with, while you're waiting on guys to get healthy?
Yeah, just reps, getting those guys reps together, and that's why practice this week is so big. Obviously, those guys had a great chemistry about them leading up into that game last week. But just a matter of really getting those guys work together. Communication is such a big piece in football, on offense in particular, and especially with the offensive line, where those guys communicate and they work as one unit. So a big focus point this week to have those guys get those reps together and make sure we bring along those guys. But all those guys have played for us too. So it's not like those guys are coming in and they haven't played football for us. So ton of confidence in those guys. Yeah, there's a lot to work on there and to fix from last game, no question about it. But I'm confident those guys are going to have a great week of practice and get going there.
The illegal snap just moving the ball up a little bit, is that what's happened?
Just a little jumpy. Yeah, just a little jumpy with the ball. When we have like alerts on, 2 play calls called, and we're waiting for the alert from the quarterback. Just a little jumpy there, but again, full confidence in Lando that we're going to get that thing right. And it's not just him. We all can be better communicators and make sure we're nice and smooth from that standpoint.
Drew as a party was pretty animated when he got called for the procedure later in the game.
Yeah.
Was Maryland barking out doing some false snap sounds?
I mean, that's what he said. That's what Drew said, and of course, believe him. So I'm sure there's some of that goes on with any football game, and whether it gets called or it doesn't, we have to adjust and handle it better. And Drew, I'm sure, would say that. But yeah, that's definitely what he said was happening in the game.
So as far as moving forward to Rutgers, what have you seen on the early film from what you've seen from their defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Walt hit on it too, but, they've been in both the games that they played against really good opponents, Iowa and Minnesota in the Big Ten, so that they ended up coming on the short end. But very good personnel. I mean, that's what the Big Ten Conference is. Every single week you're going to play against good athletes that are long, tall, rangy, can run, physical, like every single week. And this group is no different. Very active defensive end, number 99, pretty good all around in their front 7, linebackers that can move, cover sideline to sideline, and then secondary that's sticky. They do a good job of getting on guys and trying to be physical and use their hands, and so we got a great challenge ahead with these guys coming in our home stadium.
Jed's talked a lot about, disappointment versus discouragement. Last year, this Rutgers game was a really tough loss. Seemed like everything went against you guys. What do you kind of remember about the aftermath of that game, and how did that kind of lead on to the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that game, last year, but, that game, a big part of it was obviously we had good success moving the ball and just didn't finish drives, which, as we know, can really come back to bite you. When you get in the red zone, you move the ball. Yeah, that's great, but you don't win off of yards. You got to get that ball in the paint and get in the end zone. So, last week was a good example of the other side of it. We only got a few trips down there, I think 3 times, and we scored all 3, and 2 of them were touchdowns. If those don't happen, we probably lose that game. So, coming away from last year, I know that was a big part of it. It was just we didn't capitalize when we got the ball in scoring position down there, and did some good things, of course, when you have that many yards. But all that matters is, did you score? So, got to get that done.
You guys were able to get Decker really involved this week after maybe he didn't see a lot of targets the first couple of weeks. Was there an emphasis on that, or what do you think kind of was able to get him into the game a little bit more?
No, it's kind of like I've said before, is like it's really more of what the defense is presenting and the timing of the play call and who's open and making good decisions at the quarterback spot. And was really happy to see the effect and the impact that he had on the game. We've always known that could happen, and he has that ability. I think this game, just more than others, he had more opportunities. You know, the defense allowed it, and Damon did a good job of hitting him in certain windows and whatnot. But you know, we know he's an absolute threat. Great athlete, great hands that will continue to make plays for us.
How did you see him kind of handle those first couple weeks when maybe the targets weren't going his way?
Great. I mean, if you ever talk to him, he's the same guy every day. So, which is great. Has a great attitude. Practices every single day. Has a great attitude about going out and doing his work, no matter what circumstances are going on around him. Which is what we look for with all our guys. You know, to come show up to work and understand that, you know, you can impact the game in a number of different ways. It's not just when you have the ball in your hands. Of course, I'm sure any football player, wants those opportunities and wants the ball in their hand, but you know, just keep doing good things, you know, and the ball, as we say, finds energy. And if you do good things and you play well and you are in good positions and you block well and do all the other things without the ball, usually it works out in football that the ball ends up finding you at some point. So just staying ready.
All set?
All right. Thank you, guys.
Deck, obviously last year the Rutgers game was a tough one for you guys. Again, kind of like what I asked Jimmie, what do you remember about the aftermath of that game, and how do you guys kind of approach moving on from it?
Yeah, for sure. We thought that was one that got away from us, and we drove the ball really well that game, but we just didn't finish in the end zone. So emphasis this week is just to finish in the end zone, win the game.
Raiden, do you expect to be a starter as a freshman at the University of Washington?
Honestly, no. You know, coming in here, I battled some injuries, so, you know, that was part of it. And, you know, I just try to stay down and just keep a straightforward mentality, just work as hard as I can and, you know, work for the opportunities that I've been given. So I definitely wasn't expecting it, but I'm blessed to be in this position right now, for sure.
Spring ball was unusual for you because you got a little chippy injuries, and then all of a sudden you had a great spring game. Mm-hmm. So you can't really kind of plot anything, I guess, with what's happened to you at the U.
Yeah, definitely.
Raiden, outside of the injuries that you were dealing with, what would you say is the most difficult part of adjusting to college, even, you know, though you got here early in January?
Yeah, I would say just the time management part of it. You know, just making sure you're in class, making sure you're on time for meetings, on time for workouts, and just, you know, getting a sense of how busy your schedule really is and like how much free time that you have and just balancing everything.
What's the differences between playing outside versus playing the slot? They moved you only with a couple practices left in the fall.
Yeah. I would say going against press, you know, on the outside, you get pressed a lot more than on the inside. The slot, you're releasing off nickels, like second level releases. So I think press point.
How old did you know Roebuck coming out of Arizona?
So I actually met him at a track meet. We known each other for around like 3 years, so we've just been cool for a while.
Do you hold that Arizona connection up and kind of celebrate it?
Yeah, nah, definitely. Just like Arizona guys just balling on the next level. So, yeah.
Decker, you made a pretty big impact your freshman year. What have you seen from the freshman group of receivers, including obviously Raiden?
They're ballers. They're really good athletes, and they work really hard. And when you do the right thing in this program and put your head down and work early on, Coach Fish gives you a chance to make impacts on the next level early on, and they've done a really good job with that.
Decker, yesterday when we were talking to Jed, he talked about the seam route against Ohio State as a play that just really seemed to click for you and Damon. Would you agree that that's something that helped you guys just get in rhythm, get in sync, especially after Maryland?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like a big play like that, Damon leading for me and making a big play, getting down to the I think was the 7-yard line, is good play. Had a lot of good momentum off that play. But yeah, it was good. Me and Damon have worked all offseason to build that connection, and it's starting to show.
Jed said that, through this whole kind of beginning of the season, no matter your targets, you've been able to stay very confident. What do you think the key is to that?
Just trusting your preparation, working hard all offseason, and doing stuff in games that doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but knowing that you're working your butt off all week to have a good game.
When you guys were going in for the game winner, I was watching the tape again last night, and you had the lead block on that. Could you describe what you did?
Yeah, just sliding back and kicking out the DN so Jonah can run off my butt and get in the end zone. Yeah, it's a good play. It's a good one for us.
Would you have made that block last year, or have you had to progress to that point this year?
I think I would have made it last year, but just all the work I've put on this offseason and the strength I've put on makes the block a lot easier.
Is there a play early in the season so far that you've been the most proud of in terms of your growth and all that work?
Catching a nice seam ball against Ohio State is a really good one. I mean, growing up, you see Ohio State, and it's cool to play against them.
Anything else for these two guys? All right, we appreciate you.
Last time I talked to Xe'ree, you were about 20 pounds lighter. Talk about your weight gain.
Yeah, just staying consistent, eating 3 to 4 meals a day and just coming every day to work. That's mostly what it is, just working every day and just eating a lot.
And they told you that when you got here, that you're a little undersized, probably?
I wouldn't say a little undersized, but I just know how Big Ten football is. A lot of guys are big. Offensive line is big. Just got to get bigger and stronger. So that was my mindset.
It seems like you've gotten more snaps, obviously, with the injury to Buddha too. But are you feeling more confident in this defense? What do you kind of attribute to settling in a little bit more these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, always praying for Buddha every day. But I just knew it was my time to step up and give back to the team and show what I can do and how to support this team. So.
X, where did you say you see the most growth in yourself since you got here?
Definitely my mind. Coming from UCF, great team, but I built my intelligence throughout the game here, and throughout spring, leading into fall camp. I'd say I improved a lot with my intelligence of the game, and then just working off of that, I feel like that was my most improvement.
Elinneus, where do you feel like this D-line has grown the most over the season so far?
I would say probably just playing with each other, like trying to just work off each other. I feel like when we all kind of have an idea of what we're trying to do, I feel like that just makes us play faster and just play off each other to either just make somebody right if they're wrong, or you feel me, or vice versa. So I just feel like just playing with each other and playing hard and playing fast. So yeah.
What are the differences in your responsibilities when you guys are in 5, 4, 3, like up front?
Obviously 4 down, we want to be a lot more gap sound. Just try and really play technique, and obviously in 5 down, but you know what blocks are gonna come to you. So it's just literally just winning your one-on-ones and trying to make a play, but also don't try to do too much, if that makes sense. So yeah. There's a lot of different components to it, but I would just say like it's as long as you're striking, getting off the block, making plays. It's all the same. So.
Jed said that Javon is pretty close to coming back. Obviously, you guys lost him about a year ago. What's it been like to see him kind of make his recovery progress, especially after all the injuries that he's had to go through?
Javon's somebody that I've looked up to since I've been here. Even just, I remember last year, just when he got hurt, like how much that hurt me. And it's been great to be with through his journey and see him come back. He's gotten better every time, every day, try to get better. Now, there's been some hard days, but as long as he just keeps on putting his head down and staying focused, he's, you feel me, he's constantly getting better. So that's one thing I'm proud of him overcoming that, because that's super hard for an injury like that to come back from. So I'm just proud of him coming back slowly. So.
You know, he got hurt in that Rutgers game a year ago. That was kind of when you got put into the rotation in his spot. What do you remember about that Rutgers game, how everything went, and then, you know, how you guys had to try and move on from that?
Yeah, obviously it was hard. It was hard for Javon to go down, but honestly, our coach had like a next man up mentality. I had confidence that I would be able to kind of fill in the role that Javon had and kind of just be played sparingly. So obviously it's sad to see one of our brothers go down, but you just got to have like a next man up mentality. So.
You know, while you played a lot of snaps last year and this year, you became a starter against Ohio State for the first time. Was that a badge of honor for you to go out there first?
I wasn't really worried about starting. I was worried about kind of just doing my job to the best of my ability. Obviously, just looking back on it, it's a blessing to be able to start against one of the best teams in the country. But I was just focused on doing my job and trying to do it to the best of my ability. So.
X, you've kind of moved around through all the linebacker spots, including playing outside. What are kind of the different responsibilities based on where you have to line up?
Not really sure. I'm just like the guy that's like, if you need me on the field, just put me on the field. It doesn't matter if it's outside, middle linebacker, like wherever. Like, you know, even though there's some injuries happening, you know, which is gonna happen, just put me wherever on the field, and I'm gonna do my job to the best I can.
Is your goal line stop against Ohio State the highlight of your season so far?
I would say yeah, it is, but you know, there's more to come. There's always more to come. So.
What has Jacob kind of brought to your linebacker group?
I would say the energy. He's brought a lot of energy coming back. You know, and since he's back, like he's also stepping into that big leadership role too. So he's a great guy, and can't wait to keep working with him. So.
Same thing, just with Xe'ree. What does he add to this unit?
He's very young, you know, but you know he's also bringing a lot of energy too. He really He has a lot of enthusiasm. Like he just brings a lot of laugh to the room and everything. So, yeah.
Does he have swagger?
I would say he does. He does. Whenever he makes a play, he's always hyped and always bringing the juice. So.
You know, we haven't seen him, so you can almost tell just watching him walk out injured during spring ball and fall camp that he has a little something to him.
Oh yeah. You know, he don't let that injury really get to him. He always thinks he always brings that positivity around. So, and that swagger, man. I've seen it in high school. Like he has a lot of swag. So, yeah.
Anything else for these guys? All right. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you guys.